Okay.
Okay, thanks for meeting with me. Are you nervous about the recording?
No.
I'm nervous about the recording. I don't like being recorded. Alright, so we're going to work on some stuff today.
Okay.
Okay? We are going to, when you get into third grade, you're going to be learning how to do some spelling of some words and breaking some words down.
Okay.
So we're going to play a little game.
Okay.
We're going to be like word detectives today.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to move this for just a second. So we've got a few things we're going to work on. Okay? So let me first start with telling you what we're going to do.
Okay.
Okay? So we're going to work on decoding some words. So if I were to say, do you remember how many, like, what syllables are?
Yes.
So cat has how many syllables? Cat.
Yeah.
How many?
One.
If I were to say bus, how many syllables does that have? Bus. One. So if I were to say automobile, how many does that have? Automobile. Four. And if I were to say checkers, how many does that have? Checkers.
Okay.
Your dog's barking a lot today, huh?
Yes.
Alright, so we're going to work on breaking those words down. Okay? Because I know sometimes it's kind of hard to hear those different sounds, but that's what we're going to work on. Okay? And then we are going to work on some prefixes and suffixes. So if I were to say something, give you a word that says barked, what would be the suffix of that? What would be, so we're going to work on, the root word and identifying the suffix word. Okay? So you have the root word, which would be bark, and then barked, ed would be our ending, our suffix. And then we'll do some things like prefix, which is on the beginning of the things that we add on the beginning of the word. So if we were to say replay, my root word would be play, and re would be my prefix. So we're going to work on those, okay? Which means play it again, right?
Okay.
So then we're also going to look at some patterns of CVC words, CVCE words. Do you remember what those are? I think you learned those last year in second grade. Do you remember those?
No.
Okay. So those would be consonant, vowel, consonant words, like cat, because C-A-T, right? C is a what? Consonant or vowel? Consonant.
Consonant.
A would be a what? Vowel. And then T would be a what? You know this one. Consonant. All right. So we're going to work on those. All right. My goal for you is to take about 10 to 12 words, and then we can decode those by the end of our lesson today.
Okay.
Okay? So we're going to have some simple ones, some hard ones, some super duper hard ones, and then I'll have you come up with some. But I'm going to give you the tools on how to do it. Okay? All right. So we're gonna do some reading of the words. We're gonna write the words, and we're gonna look at the patterns of the words. Okay. So what we're gonna do, like we normally do, is I'll do, you do, we do, or you do, I do, we do, you do, right? We're going to use that strategy. All right. So, by using these tools I'm going to give you, there's going to be like word boxes, okay, for the letters. By the end of the day, you should be able to read and spell tricky words with different patterns, and that's going to really help you out a lot next year. Okay. So we're going to start first with, we're going to become word detectives, like I said, okay? And then, again, our goal is to break apart the words to make them, to decode them or to read them a little bit more easy. Because I know sometimes those letters, like the vowels, like the A and the E or the I, kind of trip you up a little bit sometimes. And then the D's and the B's kind of trip you up a little bit, right? So we're going to work on that, and that'll help us. Okay? In third grade, you're going to be doing a lot of writing and a lot of reading. So what we did with our kids last year, I think ELA is going to be first next year. So what we did last year was we started off every day with a foundations lesson. And I think you did a little bit of foundations last year with Miss Whitney. And you did, and so that's what we're going to start. I don't think you started off your day. We're going to start our day off like that next year. So we're going to work on our letter sounds. We're going to introduce new word rules every day. We're going to do a little bit of writing every day. So by going over this now, we're going to have a chance to kind of get a jump start on all that. So when you go in the class and your teacher starts going, whoa, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to break down letters. We're going to learn tricky E words. You're going to go, oh yeah, Foster taught me that. So, okay. So I'm going to give you a word, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to break it into parts. Okay? So let's use our handy dandy whiteboard. So we'll start with cat. Right? So how many sounds do you hear in cat? How many? 3. So we know we hear 3 sounds in cat. So these are our word boxes. Okay. So yeah, I wrote the word there, but this is just for our first practice. Okay? So what's the first sound you hear in cat?
C.
C. What other letter could it be?
K.
It could also be a K.
A. A.
T.
T.
So when we take our letter, our sounds, and we break them apart, we have k. Mm-hmm. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so let's start with some other words. We're going to start simple. Okay. What about the word hat? How many sounds do you hear? 3. So we're going to put our detective hat on. Okay. And we have 3 sounds. So how many boxes do we need? These are our sound boxes. Okay. So these are our sound boxes. And then we need to figure out what letters go in these boxes? Or what sounds go in these boxes? So we're going to start from the beginning of the word to the end of the word. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have at. What's our first sound? Our first letter?
H.
H. What's our next one?
A.
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 A. What's our next one?
T.
T. So if we were to put these words together, smush them together, and we would sound it out, we would have at. Right?
Yeah.
Let's try a couple more of these. We'll do a couple more of these easier ones, and then we're going to get a little bit harder. Okay? Not good, huh? All right. Let's go with something a little bit harder. Bed. How many sounds do you hear? 3. So we have 3 sounds. So we're going to draw ours what?
Syllable boxes.
Alright, syllable boxes. So we have bed. What letter is going to go here?
B.
Which way does B go? This way or that way? That way. Good job.
E.
E. Good. D.
D.
D. And if we put them all together,
Ed.
bed. This reminds me of, did you ever watch that show, that cartoon, Word World, where all the animals were made out of letters?
Yes.
And I love that show. All right, one more. Ready?
Yes.
It's gonna be a tricky one, because I know the E's and the I's, hint, hint, trip you up sometimes. Pig. How many sounds?
3.
Okay, so I got my 3 boxes. What's my first sound?
P.
Okay.
I.
Mm-hmm.
G.
Mm-hmm. And I sound it out.
Egg.
Pig. You got my hint on that one, didn't you? The E but the I. Pig. Alright. So let you try one. Ready? We'll draw our boxes in black. I'm gonna give you one. Ready? Hold on. I haven't given you the sounds yet. Ready?
Yeah.
Pen. P-N. How many sounds do you hear?
3.
3, good. Alright. It's okay. You're very good handwriting. Alright, so put them all together.
N.
Pen. Good job. Alright. Let's do one more. You ready?
Yes.
Sun. Sun. How many sounds do you hear?
3.
Okay. Good. So let's put them together. Sun. Good. Alright, let's see. Now this one, could you technically say, if you had, when you say the word sun, do you have here one sound or 2? We know it has 3 letters. So could I have said n? Have I done it that way?
Mm,
Not really.
I don't know.
I have to see if you're paying attention. Okay. Alright. So, now we have some words with the magic E. Okay? So we have things, so if you have, we call them CVC E words. Okay? So like before we just had a consonant, vowel, consonant. So like n. What else do we have? At. What was another one?
Pen.
N. Good job. So then we have those. So that matches consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, right? So now we're going to get some trickier words. We're going to add an E to that. Okay. So these will have 4 or 5 letters. So just for instance, if we were to say, sometimes with the silent E or the E on the end, CVC E words, you're not going to hear the E. So if I were to give you the word hop, op. How many words? How many letters? Op. Op. 3. Okay, so my first one's H. O.
P.
So I've got my CVC word right here, right? Well, what happens if I add a tricky E? What happens to that O when I add an E?
It makes the sound. It
Makes the sound say it's. You remember?
no.
Okay. It makes the letter sound say its name, right? So if we have hop changes to hope. Now when we're reading that word, do we say hopey? Huh?
No.
No, I actually had a student last year. When we went over this, her name was Hope. And you know what the kids started calling her?
What?
Hopi. Started calling her Hopi. Because they were saying she had that magic E on the end. But I'll tell you what, they didn't read hope as hop as in hope anymore. They read it as Hopi. Alright, so we got these. Let's go over a list of words. Let's go. We got hope. I'm gonna leave it on here. We're gonna do our boxes. Okay. And then hop. And then do we have? We know the E is on the end, right?
Yeah.
But do we make that sound?
No.
Nope. All right. So let's go with rope. How many sounds?
3.
How many? 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, what's my sound?
R. O. P.
Okay. So if I have that the way it is, if I sound this word out the way it is, was that my word? No. So I need to add a what?
E.
E at the end, a silent E at the end, or a magic E at the end. So now we're going to say, whoa. Make sense? All right, let's do one more. And I'll keep our Hopi up there. So anytime you think about it, you can think of Hopi. All right, so tricky one or an easy one? You choose.
Easy.
Easy. Okay. All right. Gate. How many sounds?
3.
3. Give her boxes. 3 sounds. So what's our first sound?
G. A. T. E.
Good job. Remember that. Do that E on the end. So if I were to write it out, gate. I'm gonna have my magic E, right? You want to do a couple? Or you want me to do one more? One more? Okay. So I'm going to give you a hard one this time.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Mule. Mule. How many sounds? Take a guess. 3. Got our boxes? Alright, what's your first sound? Ooh. Ooh.
L.
Okay, O. O.
L.
L. Alright, so let's look at it. You've got what's this one? What sound does that make? What's the, okay, let me ask you this. So we go here, we're going to look at our vowels, A, E, I, O, U, right? We got our vowels? So this one says A and what? A. Was it that? No. E says E and E. Wasn't that one? I says I. O and ooh or ah. Ah, as in, what's those letter cards that we used to do? O, octopus, ah.
Yeah.
It was an I, igloo, I. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, and then you have U. So U, oo. So ooh. Could it be U instead of O?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's switch that out. All right. So right here we've got ooh. Ooh. Is that our word?
No.
No. What are we missing?
E.
E. So that now turns into what? Mule. And sometimes in 3rd grade, what we teach Miss Capella and I taught our kids is if you're not sure, write out your vowels. Okay? That was always acceptable because you know what? That's a strategy. Or even doing your little boxes when you're doing your little worksheets. All right. So your turn. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go with hard one or easy one? You want to do an easy one?
Sure.
Wave. Do your boxes. Wave. Like Dave and Dave's Hot Chicken. But it's as in water. Good. Good. All right. So right here you have, so far you have v. So what are you going to add on the end? E. So it's going to turn that into, what do you reckon? Wave. Good job. All right, one more. Now I think you're ready for some harder stuff. Let's go with cube. Cube. Okay, so let's get so I first want to say good job for the C. But what other letter could you have used?
K.
K. Now B. And then we have U. And did you do your B the right way?
Yeah.
Yep. So we have B. We have cub. And what were we looking for?
Cube.
Cube. So what do we need to add on the end? So now that becomes cube. Good job. All right. I think we're ready to dive into some other stuff. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me check myself, see if I'm. Let's do. Let me come up with some. Some good words. Next, we're going to work on some words with some prefixes and some suffixes. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at some of the words we did before and see if there's any that we can add a suffix to. Some we can add. Let me see. Not really. Okay, so we're going to introduce some new words. Okay.
Okay.
Some of them we're not going to get the spelling right, and that's okay. Right?
Yeah.
So, let's do this. So when we have prefixes, we're going to underline the first part, the prefix. We're going to underline the prefix. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have the word prefix, did you know pre is actually a prefix? Prefix has a prefix? What's the prefix? For what is the prefix for prefix?
Free.
Pre. So let's do. Let's do a hard one. Ready? Redo. That's not a hard one. So let's do our boxes. Redo. How many do you see? How many words do you hear? Sounds do you hear? How many words do you hear? How many sounds do you hear? Redo.
5.
Redo. Redo. Redo.
2.
Okay. So, on the sounds that we hear are, what's that first one? Re, do. What's those two letters?
D, O,
so do we need to add those?
yes.
So we've got redo. So if I write the word out, what's my prefix?
Re,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Alright, let's find you some. Alright, ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you one. It's gonna be a little harder, but I want you to sound it out and do it. Ready? Misplace. You want me to do it with you?
Yeah.
Okay, let me write it down. So the first one, misplace. What do you think is our root word?
Place.
Place. So we're going to circle that actually, just for this practice. And then what is our prefix?
Yes.
Yes, so underline that. There you go. Good job. All right, you want to do some more?
Yeah.
You want me to write it or you want to write it? Either way's fine.
You got it.
Me? Okay. Happy. Good job. Unhappy. What's our prefix?
Un,
Un. And then what's our base word?
happy.
Unhappy. Good job. Alright. You tired?
Yes.
Alright. Let's give you some. I'm going to give you a couple more, and then I'm going to give you some on your own.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You want to write it or you want me to write it?
I'll write it.
You'll write it?
Yep.
Okay. Impossible. I am two S's. I or E? I. Good. Bowl. B. O. Okay. Almost. Impossible. One L. And then this is kind of a tricky one, but there's another key on the bottom. On the end. So you can put it right there. Okay. So what do you think is our root word? Not track that. What is our prefix first? M. And then our root word is going to be
Possible.
possible. Good job. All right, I'm going to give you a list of them, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at this first one. Misplace. What do you think is our prefix? Good. All right, now let's look at, oh, it's okay, just do one, that's fine. There you go. All right, what do you think this one is? We've got submarine. Good. Bicycle. Good. By. And then sickle is your root word, right? Now we've got preview. Like the preview movie. Preview a movie. Pre, good. Yeah. Awesome. We're gonna move. We're gonna do some suffixes. Okay. Then we'll do some suffixes and then we're gonna put it all together.
Okay.
Give you some words for you to sound out. Okay. So in suffix land, we still got our detective hat on. Help. Full for a suffix. It's different than prefix because a suffix goes on where do you think on the word? On the
End.
On the end. So we've got our root word, which is help, and then full. Okay?
Okay.
So if we were to do careless. Which one do you think is our suffix? Less. Good. All right, let's do one more together, and then I'm gonna have you do some.
Okay.
You're gonna learn this next year. Run. No, I don't have the best use. Running. Good job. So, does run, what is our root word? Oh, so you remember that you add that in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good job. All right. One more. I'm going to give you some. That's nice. Excuse me. Slowly. Good job. And then our root word is slow. Yeah. I'm going to give you a couple by yourself. I'll give you 4 by yourself. You're catching on fast. Super fast. You're a Pokemon. Remember that movie Pokemon when he was a detective? Was it Pikachu the detective?
I don't know. I don't know what movie it is. I don't know what the movie's called, but I do know it.
You being a Pokemon detective? Like a word detective?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, 4 words, and then we're going to put them all together and we'll finish up. Okay?
Okay.
Careless. Good. Teacher. Kindness. Good. Joyous. Good. All right, let's go with this. What was our root word here? Careless. Care. Okay. What was our root word here? Teach. What about kindness? Okay. Joyous. Awesome. All right. I think you're ready to be the detective on your own.
Okay.
Yeah. So these words that I'm going to give you, you can break it down. Okay. So I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want to do them on paper, or do you want to do them on the whiteboard?
Whiteboard.
Okay. Follow that. You want to take a break for a second? While I look for your words?
Yes.
Okay. You want to draw on the whiteboard for a second?
Okay.
Take a 2-minute break. You've been working hard to get done.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm going to check our video, okay? Make sure it's still going while you're taking a break. We're still going. All right, you want to finish up your face while I finish up this lesson?
Okay.
Okay. Who's that picture of? You as a work detective?
Hello.
And you funky hat?
Okay.
All right, come on, let's finish up.
Okay.
Finish your face real fast. You like drawing in school?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to give you some words. Okay?
Okay.
And I want you to break them apart. Okay, wash your face. like we did earlier.
At.
So if I were to give you the boxes, what would you put in? Okay, let's do the other two. Good. All right. Now, let's sound these two out. Good. Good. You remembered it, right? Cake. I might get that one for you, didn't I? Faster. No, you're fine. If I do go. I'm gonna give you one more after this and we're done. Proud of you, buddy. Good. And then what goes on here? Great job. All right, one last one. You ready?
Yeah.
You want a suffix or a prefix?
Suffix.
A suffix?
Yes.
Or how about a suffix and a prefix?
Okay. But that was what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Everyone with both?
Yeah.
Okay, let's sound this word out. Replaying. So underline our prefix and our suffix. That's it. Great job today. Thank you, buddy. Do you want to draw a few minutes?
No, I'm good.
No, you're good? Okay, you want to, how about you erase that and I'll stop our video. Thank you for your hard work today.
You're welcome.
Next week? See you next week?